Welcome back, and today we are going to be taking a look at the MB5 for the British tech tree. It's a premium at rank 4, and is it good at grinding? It's okay, mostly down to the matchmaker, because a lot of your games will be at 6.0 versus Junker 288. And it's good at grinding in that sense, because you basically auto-win all of those matches. But when it comes to the actual flight performance, it leaves a bit to be desired. Now this thing is absolutely rapid, it's one of the fastest 5.0s in the game, and it has some pretty good guns. 800 rounds, they're quite far apart and they're not really grouped together either, making it so you kind of just shotgun people out of the air. And with the current Hispano performance, this is more than sufficient. I don't really have any complaints when it comes to the guns and the speed, but that's essentially where it stops. The engine is a bit of a thermonuclear bomb. If you have flown the F8F before it got patched in the last big patch, then you know exactly what I mean. The web is quite touchy on this thing, and if you get a hot map like Sicily, you better assign your mech buttons, because you are gonna need them. You need to use the web quite sparingly, which is pretty annoying considering this thing doesn't have the best climb rate or the best acceleration. The engine, while producing quite a bit of power, isn't really enough to chug this thing along. This thing is very comparable at its BR to something like the P51 D20 or the D5. And you know how I think about that plane. The only thing it's really good at is being fast and running away from people. And if you have a team or a squad, that's quite beneficial. But in the average RRB match, that's not gonna suffice for a good plane. When it comes to maneuverability, it's okay, it's a bit of a boat, but it's not completely terrible, or at least it doesn't feel completely terrible. You can still somewhat turn with people, but do expect yourself to be out of energy within a few turns, and then, I mean, not the best climb rate, not the best maneuverability, thermonuclear bomb for an engine. You're probably left out to dry while hanging in the air with your dick in your hand. So, how are we gonna fly today? Let's take a look at it. The issue with making a video on a plane like this is that basically whenever you get in a disadvantageous position, you either need to spray them down in a head-on like we do with this gentleman over here, or you need to run away. And I can't really make a good video when it comes to that, because we all know how to disengage from people, we all know how to use a speed advantage without trying to kill people. So I'm gonna do something a little bit different today, because I just couldn't get good footage flying it like you are supposed to with this thing. And we are gonna semi-dogfight people. I want to put myself in bad positions, basically positions where you are forced to fight, for example, and see if we can get out of it. And I mainly want to look at what the enemy is doing wrong, because it's very telling that people just don't know how to fight this thing. And I'm not sure if it's because people aren't familiar with the plane, because no one really flies this thing, and whoever flies it like an absolute, well, like you are supposed to, and you just start running away. You just kind of have to fly this thing like an absolute pussy, because you can't really engage anyone on equal terms. Just like what we have right here. We have a 1-9 above us, it's Rick the Door Technician, and if you have played Jedi Survivor, you know how hard of a boss he is. So I want to approach this guy with the absolute utmost caution and see what he does. I'm not really sure what variant it is. I'm hoping a G10 and not a K4, but we will notice once he gets close. It's a G model, and judging from the skin, that's a G10, so we know roughly how this guy will behave. It's just the average 1-9 experience, and he is gonna beat us in the dogfight, but we are faster and he outclimbs us. Basically the average 1-9 experience in this thing. Now I can do two things. I can either pressure this guy, even though I'm in the worst position imaginable, or I just run for the rest of the match until we finally equalize the energy. Now I really can't be asked to wait until we have equalized energy, because he is above us, he's faster than us, he doesn't really know how to fight us, so he's probably gonna take it even safer than he would if he knew how to fight me, which means that this is gonna take absolutely forever. So I'm just gonna tell him this thing is easy to fight, and it is. And props for taking the risk and seeing how your plane performs when you don't know. This is how you figure this stuff out. And because you also watched the video, you're gonna get my point of view as well. As you just said in the chat, I haven't made a video on it, and that's why we are here. So I'm gonna get this guy on our 6, and I'm gonna try to get ourselves fast, because we are better at being fast than he is, and we dump more speed unless he uses his prop air brake, which I don't really recommend people doing. He does the right thing and he kind of breaks off for a second to solidify his position on our ass, and I'm just trying to pull into him right now, dump some speed, get behind him. That's my main mission right here. The second I have dumped my speed, I get a pretty good position here, but he goes into my biggest weakness, not turning in front of my guns. Now he kind of baits me in here, I think. He's kind of like giving me shots where I try to pull in and I'm not getting the shots and I have to take them. I know that they are bait. Well, I knew after the first one. But if I don't take them, it's not a fight that I win. So I'm just constantly trying to see if he makes a mistake. And you can tell that I'm not really following him. I'm turning to where he is going to be. This is called lead pursuit, but more on that in another video. I almost get the shot yet again. And if this guy just keeps turning into the same direction, he kills me. He just drains my balls. But I hope that you saw that until the last second there, where he kind of pulled into my guns, he had it. Sure, I was slowly but surely having a bit of position, but if he breaks off from that rolling scissor and just kind of pulls it into a spiral, or if he just starts looping, I fall out of the air and there is nothing I can do. Same thing here with the Focke-Wulf 190D model. He dies on us. I'm going to try to keep it fast, make it so that I have the ability to stick on him after he overshoots. I know this guy is passive. He has been running the rest of the game. He overshoots and he just flies straight. And this is what you don't want to do. I hope that you notice how slow I am going once I get guns on. If he just keeps pulling up, if he just plays it a little bit more aggressively, he just stalls me out and there is nothing I can do. I was going 750-ish. I break off, I re-engage him, and I'm already out of speed. The retention of this thing is absolutely cruise ship level, and it's something you need to be wary of. Now we have an FU4 on our 6, I'm not entirely sure which variant. Probably going to be a B model, which is even more scary. And we're going to do the exact same thing again. We're going to try to go fast, I'm going to pull out of his guns, and because we turn decently with speed, and we dump all of our speed, we will very quickly reverse people. But again, people just don't know how to fight this thing. They aren't aggressive enough and they just fly straight in front of us. Now what I'm showing you here isn't absolutely fantastic footage, I am aware. And that's mainly because no one knows how to fight this thing. And when people don't know how to fight it, most people act scared. Other than that 109, the people that I've engaged for the most part try to run for me. And that's the only thing this plane is good at. Getting gun solution and running after someone. And this makes it very hard for me to make a proper video. At the same time, it's also the only way to make a proper video, because if everyone fought this thing properly, I wouldn't be getting many kills other than the ones that just rely on aiming and target prioritization. And then it isn't really about this plane anymore, because the stuff that this plane does, you can do in a lot of planes at 5.0 as long as you have good guns. If you fly the Wyvern, you're gonna have a very similar experience, except it's gonna be even better at this playstyle. It's slightly worse at the dogfighting aspect, but it's just so much faster that it makes up for it in droves. It also has like 50% more ammo than this thing. The issue is that people just simply don't know what they are fighting. And with a plane like this, which almost no one flies, and whoever flies it like a bit of a pussy because you are forced to, because the only real strength is running away from people. They never, or you never really learn how to fight this thing. And you don't need to know every detail about these planes. You just need to know if they are quick, if they turn well, or if they climb well. And that's really all you need. For the most part. Of course, when you get into these secluded 1v1s and stuff, it's important to know your plane well. But if you know that a plane is less maneuverable than you, especially in this kind of case, where the only real advantage that I have is outrunning people, once I get caught, you can be very aggressive with me. Now, please don't get aggressive with me in the comments. That makes me very upset and I start crying myself to sleep every night. But if you see me in game and I'm flying something like an MB5 or whoever is flying the MB5, if you are faster than it and you can catch it, it's basically a free kill. It's not very good at retaliating. It's only really good at running from people. So it's an absolute shame that everyone I run into disengages after overshooting and then ends up just kind of flying into my guns. So if you aren't aware of a plane's performance, you're better off just trying to fight it, especially if it's super late into the game. Worst case, you are going to lose some silver lions. Yes, I know for some of you it's an absolute struggle to earn them, but you're never going to get better if you never take any risks. And I take it you're trying to get better, otherwise you wouldn't be watching me, because you're not watching me because I'm a very highly enthusiastic high beast of a content creator. But let's take a look at the Yak tree. I'm again trying to stay fast, I'm going to try to go underneath him, and just with that maneuver right there, I lost like 150 kilometers an hour. And I'm going to go all in for the vertical shot here. This Yak tree is trying to fight me, and he's actually trying to stall me out. So at this point I thought I am dead, because this guy shows that he at least knows how to handle a plane somewhat. And I'm going to try to do the same thing again. I'm going to take the lead turn. I'm going to try to turn directly to where he is going to be, not to where he is. And again, he turns into the wrong direction. I get basically a free shot, but I'm not able to pull into it. So I'm going to go over him. I thought that he was going to go to the left, but again, he turns back into my guns. And especially if your enemy is slower than you, as well as sitting behind you, if you reverse your turn, even though you are out-turning me, you just kind of pull back into my flight path and I just have to hold the trigger down. Sure, I say that after missing him 3 times in a row, but all I have to do is hold the trigger down. Yak 3 comes in and this time we actually have a lot of energy on this guy because we didn't go back to land and he did. So we end up at like 3 kilometers. I'm going to use my speed here to just stay directly above him. And I know that he has the ability to pitch into us and try to hose us down, but that would be a death sentence. So I'm going to just stay directly above him. I'm trying to slowly creep into a good position. And then I do reverse my turn right here. I'm baiting him into pitching up for us. And he does exactly that. So we just kind of go up over his nose. We don't take that head on. And because he wasted a little bit of extra speed, we are now able to pursue him down. We want to be careful here because the Yak 3 will absolutely rinse us in the dogfight. It's the Yak 3P, you can tell by the red camo. And I'm just going to dive on him. I want to spray at him. I want him to lose as much speed as possible. If I had missed that shot, I would have broken off, flown to the right, away from where he was pointing, and then run away, get some altitude, and then repeat a little bit later. And the same thing happens right here. We are catching a Focke-Wulf 190. He notices us, and he probably tries to go head on. He notices that he's not going to make it. And then he tries to dive away from someone that has more altitude and more speed coming into it. And to be honest, it's the right thing. It's the only thing he can try. And it's because he set himself up for disaster. So I can review this dogfight. But it all comes down to the thing that he did at the start of the game. He was so busy trying to stall climb after a guy 2 kilometers above him, that he ends up basically being in a position where he can't win anymore. And that's why it's so important to always look further than just 10 seconds before you started to die. 190 comes in, he's not going super fast, and we are going about 650, probably 700 into the merge, and this 190 is most likely going to try to disengage us once we have merged in the head-on. So I dodge the head-on quite handily because I'm going so fast. We put it into the vertical and we instantly get its position, and he again tries to run away from us. And he is actually faster than us, but because we are coming in from an angle from above as well from the side, it does make it so that we start closing the distance. He panics and he instantly pitches straight up for someone that is catching him, and he's not going very fast. Going up is basically always the worst case scenario. The guy that's coming in has more speed than you. You're not going to be out verticaling him. You are already slow, and you're going to be even slower if you pitch up. So you basically just make yourself a massive target. XP50 comes in. We shoot 80 rounds in a head-on because I really don't want to deal with that guy. He catches about all the shells in his face, and we fly on over to the P-38. There's also an entire civilization down there on the deck, but they can't really touch us right now. I'm not really worried about them. Instead, I'm going to try and help my buddy out over there in his 109. Because if I kill this P-38, we can just dive to the deck and clean everyone up. B-25 is again not a priority. I need this P-38 first. And he's going fast. It is a P-38L, so he is kind of scary when it comes to high speed. But this thing doesn't really compress. And because he's so busy trying to fly straight, trying to run away from us, not maneuvering, he also ends up eating it. And then we have the group on the deck. Everyone is really just kind of slow, not really paying attention. And we are extremely fast, so we just kind of jump scare everyone here, Freddy Fazbear style. And we gun everyone down. And that's the only thing this plane is really good at. But if you have another plane that's fast with a lot of guns, it can do the same thing this thing can. By simply dropping into a group, shooting everybody, then refusing to elaborate and simply leaving. And really, that's all there is to this plane. I'm sorry if this video was boring, hope it wasn't too bad. And if it was, well, too bad. Maybe the next one is better. Thank you all for watching, and you'll see me then.